You were dying. A baby, barely hours old, probably adorable in a wrinkled, screaming larva kind of way. Your mother, grief-stricken, sleep-deprived, and definitely not thinking clearly, decided the best move was to scale the local haunted death mountain, barefoot, in the snow, like a tragic fairy tale with zero survival instincts. Because when you're desperate and delusional, obviously the logical choice is to feed your dying infant from a cursed subterranean artery known as the Veil of the Earth. We're talking hell's juice box. Though the villagers had warned her, of course it's cursed, it's alive, Karen, don't do it. But she did it anyway. And surprise, you didn't cry, you didn't breathe, but you opened your tiny goth baby eyes black as unpaid debt, and the wolves that came to eat you, yeah, they bowed, full-on canine reverence. So there you were, undead, underdressed, and already commanding forest wildlife. Mazel tov. You weren't turned, you were born, which, contrary to what every moody teen novel suggests, is not cool. It just means you skip the awkward fangs at puberty phase and jump straight into eternal exhaustion. Your childhood? Oh, you mean the years of being raised by candlelight in a stone mansion that smelled like mildew and ancestral guilt? Delightful. No teddy bears, no lullabies, just blood rituals and 6-hour lectures on which fork to use when seducing barons at dinner. You didn't play hopscotch, you played guess which ancestor is still trapped in this mirror. Most kids learned the alphabet. You learned the bone structure of prey animals and how to enter a room without casting a shadow. You learned to curtsy before portraits that blinked, and not blinked like a kind of trick of light. Blinked like, hey kid, I watched your grandfather die, kind of blinked. You wrote your first diary entry in blood and disappointment. You could vanish by the time you could walk. And by the time you could write poetry, you were already using runes and mild emotional trauma. Even though you are ridiculously good-looking, being born a vampire is far from elegant. It's exhausting. It's a non-stop identity crisis in formal wear. The 18th century is particularly unforgiving. Powdered wigs, corsets, plagues, and all you wanted was a hemoglobin protein shake. You couldn't even be openly undead. No, you had to blend in like some pale, melancholic oddball who doesn't like sunlight and has a rare condition called being full of bloodlust and centuries of regret. You couldn't just be evil. You had to be quirky. You had to play the part of the mysterious noble with too many secrets and not enough vitamin D. And the hunger always there, coiling through your insides like a Victorian stomach worm. Every masquerade ball was basically a buffet you had to pretend wasn't a buffet. You'd smile, you'd dance, you'd whisper a sonnet, and then gently nibble someone's neck behind a curtain and act like you didn't just consider drinking the entire party. And the cleanup, please, feeding wasn't glamorous, it was logistics, spreadsheets of victims, bribes for the local bishop, forged papers, elaborate cover stories like, he had anemia, or she fell prey to melancholia, or those weren't bite marks, it was syphilis. Every feeding came with enough paperwork to make a tax attorney cry. You couldn't even own property, you just borrowed identities, borrowed time, borrowed blood. Your day-to-day existence was a 24/7 improv show called Don't Get Stabbed by the Priests. Sometimes you faked a slow illness. Sometimes you died of consumption and reappeared as your own hot cousin. You kept pre-dug graves and breakup letters on standby in case you needed to ghost someone. Literally. And crypts? Crypts were just your version of an Airbnb minus the thowels. Romance was a dumpster fire wrapped in velvet. Fall in love with a human? Congrats. You now get to watch them turn into a wrinkled raisin while you stay the same, sipping blood like an eternal sad boy. At first it's poetic, and then it's deeply awkward. Then you're feeding their grandchildren and wondering where it all went wrong. Vampires weren't better, though. They came with emotional baggage, literal skeletons in closets and cult memberships. You dated one once, stunning Vimpress from Prague, smelled like lilacs and secrets. She ghosted you to join a moon worship cult, left a coffin and a note that just said, "Don't follow," which is either ominous or extremely passive-aggressive. Oh, let's talk about vampire hunters. No sunglasses or leather jackets, just angry monks with bad haircuts and homemade steaks who thought your existence personally offended God. Some were true believers, some just like stabbing things. Either way, not fun. You once had to ride in a carriage with a bishop who had a blessed dagger under his robe. He smiled the whole ride, never blinked. You didn't blink either. That's not intimidation. That's just how your eyes work now. The worst part, people didn't even fear you properly. No one screamed, "Monster!" They called you romantic, mysterious. Oh, he's so tragic. Lady, I drink people. That's not tragic, that's felonious. You were just another eccentric aristocrat with too many candles, yet not enough sunlight. And deep down, what they never saw, what they couldn't see, was the aching loneliness, the stillness, the never-ending drag of pretending, of being a ghost in your own life. You couldn't remember your mother's voice, only the cold, only the mountain, only the wolves. So no, being born a vampire isn't seductive. It's centuries-long group project where you do all the work, everyone dies, and then you get zero credit. It's an endless performance in the world's most depressing opera where everyone claps when you die and boos when you don't. Eternal life is a gift, they say, but they don't mention how boring eternity gets when your own reflection won't even show up to keep you company. When every person you've ever loved becomes a ghost story, when every night starts with hunger and ends with regret. So if you ever find yourself yearning for immortality, castles, and fangs, maybe go lie down until the feeling passes, because you weren't made for this. You weren't carved from stone and blood and sorrow. You weren't born on a cursed mountain, fed the earth's own venom. You didn't rise in silence while wolves bowed. But I did. And I'm so tired of pretending it doesn't suck.